Separating calorimeter. So separating calorimeter is having the mechanical separator in which the mass of water and mass of steam can be separated. Now this is possible with the perforated tray. So when you pass the steam through the perforated tray, then the moisture or water content in that mixture can be separated. So likewise you can measure the mass of water separated, and whatever the steam is coming out, that we can measure the weight of that steam by condensing it into form of water. See, mass of steam cannot be measured easily. You may require the different sophisticated instruments, but one easy method is there, that let us condense whatever the steam is coming out of that calorimeter by passing over it through the chilled water, or cooling water will circulate in the condenser and that will condense the steam. So whatever the steam is condensed, we can measure its mass by weighing balance. So that is the steam's mass we can measure. So see here, mass of water separated is there and mass of steam is there. So simply think that you can use the equation Ms divided by Mw plus Ms, where Ms is the mass of steam which is condensed and Mw is the mass of water separated. So with easy formula you can find out it. But the issue is there that, see, we are considering that the mechanical separator is there. So this mechanical separator is not going to separate the complete moisture. That is the difficulty. So due to which we can't have the accurate readings of Ms or Mw. Ms, the value of Ms which is coming, that will be more, because we are not going to separate out the complete moisture. So that's why Ms will be more, means whatever the measurement of X is there, that will be more than actual. So this type of the calorimeter is used for prediction of the dryness fraction when the steam is too wet, or you can say that the moisture content is more, or you can say that the dryness fraction is lower. So this type of the calorimeters are used for the more wet steam, or you can say that lower dryness fraction. So this is a limitation, and that accuracy is very, we can say that it is not that much accurate, because the separation of moisture content is not perfect in this case. So that is the first, we can have second separate calorimeter we can have. Now then third is there, that is throttling type calorimeter. In throttling type calorimeter, as I have said that we have to use the throttling wall. Okay, so throttling wall is nothing but a restricted area through which you will pass the steam and it gets expanded. Expansion of the steam means what? The pressure is going to reduce. So initially pressure will be higher and that is reduced during the throttling process. And we will measure the pressure before throttling, pressure after throttling, and temperature after throttling. Only thing is that when the steam is throttled, you can measure the mass again by passing through to the condenser in which the cooling water is circulated, and you will get the mass of the steam also. So likewise the throttling calorimeter can be used. So this is a simple structure we are having. We require the three readings majorly. The first is pressure before throttling, pressure after throttling, and temperature after throttling. So with this we can use the throttling process, and throttling process we are considering that it is a isenthalpic process in which the enthalpy before throttling and enthalpy after throttling is remaining constant. Enthalpy before throttling and enthalpy after throttling is remaining constant. So finding out the H1, we are knowing the wet steam is there, so we are sending the wet steam. So we can use the formula for wet steam, that is HF plus XHFG for H1. For H1 we can write the formula HF plus XHFG. But for H2 we can see that if we throttle this, the pressure is going to reduce, but it is an isenthalpic process. We can consider that the steam gets superheated. Okay, so it is superheated, it goes to the superheated region. So you can calculate the H2 from the superheated steam table or by the calculations. So I have written here, that is H1 you can calculate like this, while H2 you can calculate Hg2 plus Cp of steam T superheated minus T saturated. So for these calculations, how many readings you required? You required the pressure P1 for calculation of H1, You require pressure P2 for calculation of H2 and the temperature T2, which is we can call it as a T superheated. So likewise, you can find out the values of dryness fraction X1. See, in this relation, the X1 is only unknown, that you can find out easily. Okay, now the limitations for this is that if the steam is too wet, means if you are having the lower dryness fraction, but with the same pressure also, if the same pressure is also there, and the we can say that the dryness fraction is lower, then if you pass through the throttling wall, it is not going to be converted into the superheated region, but it will remains in the wet region. Okay, if it is remaining the wet region, then the H2 formula is cannot be used like this. It will be HF2 plus X2 HFG2, and in that case X1 and X2 though both will be unknown. So this method fails if the steam is not superheated after the throttling process. It is only possible if the steam is becoming the superheated after the throttling. Now how will you come to know that the steam is superheated or not? For that purpose you have to measure the pressure P2. Pressure P2 बघायचं. If the pressure P2 and temperature T2 you have to see. So if for pressure P2, whatever the saturation temperature is there, if it is less than the T2 or T2 is greater than the saturation temperature, then you can say that the steam is superheated. Otherwise, it is not superheated. So that you can see. So for example, suppose initial pressure is 10 bar, and if I throttle it to the 1 bar, then you have to check that after throttling what is the temperature. If that temperature is becoming 110 degrees centigrade, then you can see that at point T2 we are having at point after throttling you can see that the temperature is 110 and pressure is 100 degrees centigrade. Sorry, pressure is 1 bar. So for 1 bar saturation temperature is 100 degrees centigrade. Saturation or boiling point at 100 degrees centigrade is sorry, at 1 bar pressure is 100 degrees centigrade. So you can say that the actual temperature of steam, which is 110 degrees centigrade, is greater than saturation temperature. So that's why we can have the superheated steam. But it is possible only when the dryness fraction of the steam which we want to measure should be lesser. If it is, sorry, it should be more, not lesser. It should be more. If it is lesser, then we can't measure it through this method. So that is the limitation. So if the steam is too wet, the resultant dryness fraction X cannot be measured, or it cannot be accurately measured. While if you use it for higher dryness fractions only, that is when the dryness fraction is more than 0.85, then this type of the throttling calorimeter is useful. Okay, so with this you can solve the problem also that we have discussed for last lecture. Now, see, there are drawbacks of separating calorimeter, that it cannot be used for the higher dryness fraction. It is used for only lower dryness fractions, because for higher dryness fraction the separation of the steam may not be that much accurate. So accuracy is going to be reduced if you go for the higher dryness fraction with the separating calorimeter. Okay, while throttling calorimeter cannot be used for the lower dryness fraction. So you can't use that throttling calorimeter for the lower pressure.